When are you coming home? I can't take the car? Alright. Improvvisti. Cazzo è improvvisti? Ciao amore. What a prick. Hey guys, it's Alec Torelli. Welcome to a new episode in experimental type of content I'm doing where I'm just going to share with you guys a little bit more about some of the behind the scenes of the life of a high stakes poker player, a little bit more insight into what my life is like, things I'm up to, things I have coming up, big projects I'm working on, and just a little bit more of what's going on behind the scenes. I got a lot of requests from readers to share this type of stuff, so I'm going to open it up to you guys a little bit more instead of having some of like the formal stuff or like the hand analysis and reviews. I figured it'd be cool to have you guys get the chance to know me a little bit better through some more conversational videos like this one. I thought I'd kick this video off with a little bit of my recap for the summer and some of the things I have going on coming up in the future. In June, my wife and I came out to Italy. For those of you who don't know, my wife's Italian, she was born and raised here, and we have a place here. So we're here, you know, on and off throughout the year, depending on poker, depending on our travels and whatever else we have going on. We came out here in June, did some traveling, went to Tuscany, that was awesome, and my family came out here as well to visit, and so they stayed here with me for a month. We went to Austria and France, and we traveled a lot around this area, which was really, really cool. Back in July, I wrote a blog about my goals for the summer of 2016. I'm gonna go over a recap of those with you today because I think it's a kind of a cool reflection that I've had throughout my summer. It's a cool time to do that now that summer's over, and some things coming up in the future. But first off, the life of a poker player and an entrepreneur in general is just a little bit different than the conventional one, obviously. One of the things that I think is like a blessing and a curse at the same time is the idea that you can make your own schedule. So in one way it's a blessing, because like any time that you don't feel like working or anytime you don't feel like doing anything, you really don't have to. At the same time, you have to be extremely self-motivated without any form of accountability. It's really hard to do things yourself sometimes. I've never really struggled with this. I've always been lucky, and I really like just I'm blessed with like a DNA that just is, you know, fifth gear, right? I've always been wanting to do more. I've loved engaging, and I've always just been like super driven, right? So it's been like not something that I've been challenging with. That's not something that's been a challenge to me. But ironically, what has been a challenge is the taking time off part. So it's really a double-edged sword, right? Some people struggle with not like engaging enough, and other people engage too often. For me, it's always been the latter. I've always been like, whenever I have opportunity to have a day off, it's like, well, I always have the opportunity to work, and so I always take advantage of that opportunity. I always take advantage of the opportunity to do something. So this is sort of like the dilemma, right? It's like because you don't have a schedule, you can decide what to do when you want it, and because there's sort of like always opportunity when it comes to trading your time for some form of opportunity, whether that's money or prominence or influence or growing my brand or playing more poker, whatever it is, it's hard to like resist that, especially when you've had a modicum of success and like you start to see the results of your effort, and then there's sort of like, you know, there's some sort of societal pressure where there's like an expectation to live up to. But even leaving that aside, it's like you don't want to, even if you're like completely unconcerned with that, you still have the sense of having built something over like years, or in my case, like over 10, 12 years of work through my life in my poker career, that you don't really want to like leave aside, right? It's sort of like your child that you've built up for so long, and you've watched like grow over this period of time, and it's like hard to like let that go, right? You become emotionally attached. And so that's how I've always felt about like my poker career and my progress and like evolution as a poker player. The reason I'm saying this is I wrote this blog, my goals for the summer of 2016, and one of my goals, I have 4 goals, right? But they're all sort of tied to the same thing. The gist of the blog, you can read it, the link is below this video if you would like to read it. Some pictures of me as a child too, when I was still cute. But like the gist of it was that I actually wanted to take a summer and actually have summer like I did when I was a kid, right? And because of like, since I was 16, I've always been like playing poker, I've always been working for myself, I've started a few businesses, and I've never really had like an intense period of work for 9 months and then took like 3 months off like somebody else might do. Of course, I know that not everybody does this when they're working in a normal job, but like the longest period of time I went without playing poker I remember the first 4 years, the longest period I remember I took a week vacation when I was 20. I had one of the biggest upswings of my life. I won like 500K in a week on full tilt poker. I was either 19 or 20, living in Australia. And I remember I took a week off, and this girl that like was friends with at the time in Australia, like convinced me to go on like this backpacking trip for a week up the Gold Coast. And I remember it was so hard for me. I was sitting there in my room. It was like so difficult for me to leave my computer in my apartment in Australia, because I was like, shit, if I bring my computer, you know, I could win another like couple $100,000, but if I bring my computer, I'm gonna like completely ruin this experience that I'm never gonna have the opportunity to get back. So at the end, I left my computer. It was like a very hard decision for me. And I know this sounds like almost depressing, but it was like a real decision for me at the time. And that was like the first week I ever took off in 4 years. Like I never, ever went a week without playing poker. I'm not trying to be like some hero of work or anything. I mean, I think this is actually like a defect that I have, in that I didn't have the balance that I needed to have. And I would just like be, you know, super consumed with something. I just didn't have any balance in my life. So this has always been something I've struggled with, and even as I've gotten better over the years, this is a lot of what I wrote about, a lot of what I think people like about my style, is that I actually have like worked really, really hard to achieve some sort of balance in my poker career and my personal life and things like outside of that when it comes to travels and extracurricular activities and whatnot. But it's still always been something I've struggled with. So I've always like had the tendency to look at a project and treat it like a job, right? Like transform something that could be completely hedonistic into something like didactic, where it has to be like a project that I'm doing something to not necessarily like make money, but just it's like part of something that I'm trying to grow. So my goal for this summer was to just completely take a summer off and just enjoy things and do things and take things as they come. So one of the things I wanted to spend more time doing, that it's sort of like that thing on everybody's bucket list where it's like, you know, you've probably heard the question, if tomorrow you were given $100 million, what would you do? And it's like so easy to think like, oh, well, I would do this, this, and this. And then of course, like the retort is, well, why aren't you doing more of that stuff now? Because you don't need money to do a lot of the things that you actually enjoy. This is very true for me. One of those things is writing. It really doesn't cost any money to write, and I'm fortunate to have a lot of free time as an entrepreneur and a poker player that I could spend it how I please. So my challenge has always been never allowing myself enough time to write, and this summer is something I wanted to do more of. I wanted to do more creative things that are creative outlets for me. And producing these videos, which I've done a few of, to some extent has been like a different form of writing, right? It's sort of like an expression of yourself through a different medium, right? These are videos where I'm talking, oratory, and then writing is also creative as well. So my first goal was to write, and I think I did pretty well on this. Like I actually had a week where I wrote 20 blogs. I did some writing that was like business writing, and then I created a few new products, which was also fun. And I also wrote a little bit more of a novel, which I'm working on, about my life as a high-stakes poker player in Macau. I did a little bit more of an outline. I wrote a few more chapters, and this has just been something I'm working on for the last couple of years. I'm not like too stressed about completing that project. It's just something that I do when I feel a lot of inspiration for it. So I'm sort of pleased with my writing goal. If I look back, I would say I would have liked to do more, but at the same time, I did what I could. I wanted to relax. It was my second goal, and I think this I didn't do. I had some external circumstances come up that like demanded a lot of my attention, but I think relaxing, I was like a B minus. I think I could have done a better job, but that's just the honest truth. And I'm really like happy that I wrote this stuff down, because when I look back at it 3 months later, I'm like, oh wow, what could I have done differently to do better in the future? I wanted to be more spontaneous, right? So I used to look at things that happened like things that happened like that were, you know, interruptions or distractions or things that weren't planned in my day as a source of stress, right? So if I had an idea about what I wanted to do for my day, like I want to get up, I want to work, I want to do this, I want to go to the gym, and then I want to go out, and like I just kind of had a plan or an idea of my ideal day and how I like visualized it in my head. If something happened that, you know, took away from that, it would be a source of stress for me. And this is something I've had to work on, and I feel like this summer I've done a very, very good job with that. I know this sounds like, you know, kind of like probably trivial to some people, like not everybody has the same sort of defects or weaknesses, but I'm being humble with you guys. This is one for me that was like, it's just something that was like a simple limitation that I had, right? Like this was something that would bother me if like I had an idea about, I want to go this way, and someone's like, hey, we have to go over here. Like it would always be like a battle or a dilemma for me, because I'd have my idea so stuck on doing this one thing. That's not to say I'm not spontaneous in my life as a whole. I'm like super spontaneous. Like I've been known to go to the airport without a destination and just book a flight for wherever I want to go. I've done that many times. But like when it comes to like a rigid day that I have planned for like what I want to accomplish, I get sort of defensive about that. And this summer I'm very proud of this goal. I think this one was an A, and I'm really happy that I was just like accepting of life's like sort of, you know, whimsical wind, and wherever it takes you, I was going that direction without like completely derailing. So I did a good job of balancing. I'm proud of that one. My fourth goal was to just be present, right? It's just to be actually experiencing the reality that is in front of me. And I feel like so often life happens to us. Like we have this feeling like we're just not in, at least maybe this is just me. I don't know. I don't want to say like a we tense here. But I feel like for me personally, maybe you could relate, like it feels like a lot of times life is like happening to us, and it's just like all these things are coming in and it's hard to like control, right? I feel like the biggest thing that people don't take control of is technology, right? Like this right here, like this iPhone is the biggest blessing and the biggest curse, right? This has allowed like so much more efficient communication, like so many things in the world are better because of this. But at the same time, when you're always plugged into work and you're always connected, you feel like almost you're like, I don't want to say you, I feel like I'm almost not in control of the way I spend my time, some of the time, right? Because I pull out my iPhone and then I want to do something, or it just becomes a habit where every 15, 20 minutes, I'm checking my like thing, and I log into my Twitter and I check a message. Next thing you know, like 10 minutes goes by, or even if 10 seconds goes by, sometimes I pull out my phone and I realize I have nothing to do and then I put it away. But it's just like the constant disconnect from the present, right? It's a constant like escape to another reality, right? Like you're using your iPhone, you're checking your email, you're doing something, you're on Twitter, you're on social media, and like you're never actually doing what you're there to do, right? Like whether you're at lunch with friends, or whether you're like walking around a city, whether you're trying to like just be present and observe something, or look at flowers, or like walk by and appreciate a building or piece of art or whatever. It's almost like everything is sort of just like happening in the background, and the foreground is something that's like taking away from the current reality. So my idea was to be present this summer, and like one of the biggest things that I noticed that was a distraction for me was my phone. So my goal was to limit my like social media time, especially having like a personal brand and like a decent following. It's like I'm always connected to people. I really like to give back and like hear the opinions of my audience, my readers, but at the same time I like to like help other people and share experiences that I have, so I'm always plugged into social media. I spend like 3-4 hours a day responding to comments and emails and whatever. So for me, this is like a particular, this problem has become particularly exacerbated as I've had like a personal brand, and so my goal was to limit and be more concentrated the time I use on social media. So I said, you know what, this is what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna have days of the week or times of the day for social media, and I'm gonna work for a half hour super intensely on social media, and then the rest of the time I'm not gonna do it. So instead of like doing 5 minutes here and there when I'm on the train, when I'm here, when I'm there, I'm just gonna like block out time where I'm intensely dedicated to tending to my social media or the distractions that normally happen in my life, like email or whatever it is that you try and do like on the road to sort of save time. And I'm gonna just block out time for that. And even if it takes me an hour that I could have saved throughout the day, the other 23 hours of the day, or not 23, the other 15 waking hours of the day, I'm gonna be like completely present wherever I am. This, I think I did like a B+. I had a very good period in the beginning where I was super focused, super committed, and it was revolutionary. Like I don't wanna say I wish I could go back to that, because I could go back to that today, but this is something that I've realized how powerful the shift has been for me, and it's something that I was extremely proud of doing when I did it. And then I slowly like crept back into 5 minutes here, pull out my phone, check my Twitter, whatever, and then it sort of became like back to my old habits, right? So it's like a B+. I had a moment of clarity where the light came in, and now I know what I need to go back to and what I could accomplish if I am constantly present and put my mind to it. So these are my 4 goals for the summer, right? I did varying degrees of success for each of them, but I'm really proud of myself because I put these down on paper, and at least I had something to strive to, right? Like I feel like even if I rated myself a C or a D in all of the goals, I'm still more proud that I at least put the goals down on paper and attempted to do something, rather than just like go on blindly wishing that one day I'll write more. Like at least I took a step, and at least I put something down on paper, and like I had something to measure up to live up to, and then learn from my mistakes in the past. This is something I've used throughout my poker career to achieve different things that I wanted in my poker career and my personal life, and this is a process I always use. Maybe you can take something from it as well. So now what do I have going forward, right? We've looked at the past a little bit. That's a recap for the summer. Now it is October, and I'm leaving Italy and I'm going back to the States. So I think I'm gonna be I'm really last minute with my travel plans. So when I say number 3 being spontaneous, this is an example of how I'm spontaneous in my normal life. I don't really make plans till the last minute because I don't really know what like I'm gonna feel like doing, right? And that's one of the things that I take advantage of to the absolute maximum in my life. I have a lot of freedom in my life. I don't really allow things in my life or accept projects or ideas or involve myself in things that limit that freedom in any way. And to me, that is the ultimate currency, right? So if I have the choice between making money and giving up freedom, I don't choose to make that money because I'm trading one currency for another currency. And I believe the currency of wealth is freedom, right? So I'm really last minute when it comes to these decisions because I have the option to do so, and I'm very blessed for that every single day. So like when it comes to like now, I'm at a divide where like I legitimately don't know what I'm doing, and I'll tell you a little bit about some of my thought process. I'm in the middle, right? I'm in Italy. I have the option to go left or right. I could go, and like I mean this literally, I could literally go to New York, where we have a place there, and I might go stay in New York for a couple weeks, do some business, meet some colleagues, meet some friends, and just live life in New York City in the fall. I mean, it's one of the most beautiful things you could do, right? It's a completely different experience though and then from there I would go to Vegas in California, see some family over there, and go to Vegas, play some poker, and then I'm going to be playing Poker Night in America in November. There's 3 stops: Dallas, Pittsburgh, and Florida. So the entire month of November, I'm on the road. I'm playing high stakes poker around different parts of the US, and I'm going to be 100% full-time poker player that month, right? So November's already planned out, and so it's just a matter of what do I want to do in October. Do I want to go to New York, maybe go to Niagara Falls, take a vacation with my wife, have fun in New York, and then maybe like go see some family in California or go to Nevada before? My other option is to go right. I could go to Macau. I have some clients that want to work with me out there, and I'd love to take another trip to Thailand and go on vacation. Maybe we want to go to Cambodia. We've been wanting to go to Siem Reap for a while. Korea's on the list as well. So there's a lot of things in Asia that we really want to do. We'd love to go to rural China as well. And then of course play high stakes poker in Macau. Like that's one of the highlights of the year. Like, it's just like one of the most exciting things that I can imagine doing. I love Macau. It's home for me. I know everybody. It's just like, it feels like going home even though I'm going to the other side of the world. So I'd love to go back to Macau. I'd love to play poker, but because I know November is going to be a super intense month of poker as well, and I have other things going on in my life, it's like I'm kind of on the fence right now. And so I'm debating between these 2 options, but I'm very, very last minute, right? And so if I made this decision like a month ago or 2 months ago or 3 months ago, and I was like, okay, October I'm gonna go to Macau, or October I'm gonna go to New York, then I might arrive at the point where I'm at now and then realize like I really don't want to be doing that thing. And I think the worst thing that I could do, or someone could do as a professional poker player, is put themselves in a spot, of course if they don't have to, if they're not like playing to pay rent, if they're in a spot where they can choose when they want to play to some extent. I think putting yourself in a spot where you're going to take like an epic trip to Macau where you're risking a lot, there's a lot at stake, you could end up winning or losing 6 figures easily. And to put yourself in that spot if you're not really ready to go. So that's always like a very last minute decision I make. And at the same time, it's like the same thing with New York. Like, do I want to go there? Do I want to do business? Do I want to meet up? Do I want to have that fast paced city life? Maybe we want to stop in Iceland and do something like on the way and just take like a really rural vacation and ride horses in the nature. So like that's something that I'm very, very flexible and last minute with. And that's just how I live my life. And that's one of the things I'm the most blessed for. And in the end, like both directions will cost me the same amount of money. So I don't really see any reason to make this plan earlier than I need to, right? I think taking full advantage of what you're feeling in that moment is the best way to live your life, because ultimately, like at the end, I'm doing exactly what I want to be doing. Whereas if I booked going to Macau like 3 months ago, then I might be like, shit, I wish I could go to New York, but then I have this commitment to go to Macau. Maybe I like set up something with some clients and some business and some other stuff, and I have like these poker games that I set up to play out there. And then now I change my mind, and vice versa. So that's sort of how I live my life. That's like exactly what I'm thinking right now. I don't know where I'm going to go. You'll probably check back in a couple days or a week. You'll see where I end up and what I decided, and I'll probably tell you why I ended up there. So that's it for this vlog. I'll update you like as I get to another city and where I'm at, what I'm doing, and I'm sure a lot of things will change depending on whether I go left or right. That's sort of one of the exciting things about life. All right, I hope you enjoyed this vlog. If you liked it, please give it a thumbs up, subscribe to my channel, put out a lot more different experimental types of content soon, and please leave me a comment with your feedback. I greatly appreciate it. This is like one of my first experimental episodes in this series, so please take a second and leave me a comment. Like, what would you guys like to hear more of? Leave me your feedback. Do you like this? Do you want to hear more of this stuff? Do you have questions for me? Anything I could do to improve this segment of my channel, I greatly appreciate it. And that's it. I'll see you guys next time. Take it easy. Peace.